like and subscribe. What is the weirdest thing a babysitter or caretaker has ever done to you? I have my fair share of stories from a couple babysitters. I guess I just got very unlucky when I was younger. First babysitter I can remember, I was 5 or 6. She used to force me to watch porn with her and her friend, and would make me touch her. Sounds like an awesome time, but when you're that young and you're taught that doing stuff like this is wrong, you get scared. She would also make me wait until she was done eyeing her boyfriend in my parents' room. When I was about 10, I had a babysitter who would completely ignore me. I asked her to play hide and seek. She left me hiding for 3 hours. I had a babysitter that would leave me at the park by myself so she could go to a friend's and do whatever. I was 10 and alone in a park, sometimes at 9 PM or even later. All in all, I didn't realize how much kids can be in danger from people you think you can trust with your kids. And because of these stories, and I have more, I don't think I will ever be able to trust someone with my kids, if I have any. What are your stories? I had a babysitter who would try to hit me, but she was 60 or so. She moved rather slowly compared to 8-9-year-old me, so she rarely ever landed a slap. She would usually hit me for pointing out that she was wrong or me talking back to her. One night she tried to hit me, so I ran upstairs to my parents' room, where we kept our dog, because she was terrified of dogs. I released the dog, breed, American Eskimo, and shouted, "I've released the hound." The dog ran downstairs, and having never met her before, barked at her. This babysitter ran outside barefoot into the snow, ran down the driveway, through the street, and to the neighbor's house across the street. Called my parents, and said she was never babysitting me again. I've released the hound. Awesome. She let me play with her turtles. She made sure I washed my hands afterwards. I had babysitters that were pretty well-known drug dealers for that part of the state. Didn't realize that until I was 18 or so. They were supplying your parents, BTW. My babysitter would always complete my Rubik's Cube for me. I'd mess it up again, and she'd just complete it again. I don't think I belong in this thread. Not intentionally, but I had a babysitter let me drink bleach when I was 2 or 3 years old. I was in the hospital for days. I had seizures and almost died. Formed a conga line with me and my brother. I can't even remember if music was playing. We went around the coffee table a few times. What? You never specified what kind of weird. It's a good weird. I had a female babysitter who would take me into the bathroom. She would sit on the toilet with her pants/underwear off and have me pee into the toilet bowl between her legs. She would ask me to hit a hairy spot every once in a while. I'm male and was about 8 years old at the time. I remember thinking that it was pretty awesome. I had a babysitter punch me in the face because I told her she was an idiot. My neighbor made me wear a leash. Her kid was out of control, and we had to go to the grocery store. She pulled a leash out of her purse and hooked a Velcro wristband around his arm. Before I had a chance to make fun of him, she pulled out another one and hooked it to me. I walked around patiently, hoping to be released on good behavior, but no luck. Also, the rule in her car was hands under the seat belt, which was terribly uncomfortable and dangerous too. As a nanny, I can promise I've never done anything like this to a kid. Never ignored them, touched them, etc. With that said, I had a babysitter when I was like 3 that apparently made me stand in front of her and her boyfriend with my pants down. My parents caught her. I was never touched. I don't remember any of it. My babysitter was my cousin, and she would kind of let me do whatever while she watched Maury. This was the 90s. I would do things like eat condiments straight, because I figured, since they were so good on food, they'd be good by themselves. I remember eating a spoonful of salt, a few spoons of butter, and about 1/5 of a jar of mayo. Then my stomach hurt, so I took a nap on the welcome mat. In other aspects, she was awesome. She once made Rice Krispie treats, and woke me up for some at 11 at night, so I wouldn't miss out. I have never had a babysitter do anything weird to me. Am I the only one whose parents only left them with trustworthy individuals? She was in high school, and I was in elementary school. She would watch me and my younger sister most days after school before my parents would come home. She was alright to us. I remember she was very lazy. She would sleep on the couch for hours, while we would play around the house or neighborhood. What made her terrible is she started stealing from us. She found my dad's checkbook, and forged some checks. My dad is in finance and always balances a checkbook, and it was obvious that money was missing. He got in touch with the bank, and found out that it was her. Also, my parents would hold on to my and my sister's cash that wasn't in the bank. Like maybe $120 total, and that mysteriously went missing, but they couldn't prove she took it. My parents didn't call the police because they didn't want to ruin her life, and also, her parents were very nice. They paid back the money she took, and I never spoke to her again. I actually looked her up on Facebook, and she has 3 daughters now. I wonder if she ever thinks about how much she betrayed our trust. Edit, my grandma. It hasn't improved since I was the age mentioned above. A babysitter's son tried to molest my sister when she was about 5 or 6. He was around 12. He kept trying to take her into his room to play games, and he told my brother and I to stay out. The kid was kind of a freak, so I said absolutely not, and I wouldn't let my sister leave my side. My older brother and I told my mom, and we stopped going there. Then my brother told the sitter's kid that I was the one who told, so the kid would always flip me off and threaten to kill me when he saw me at school, but he never actually did anything. Actually sit on me on the first day as a joke, saying I'm your babysitter. You know, in a sheltering suburban household this may be blown out of proportion, but to most others in this thread, you got off easy. One of my friends was repeatedly raped by her babysitter for about 3 years, starting when she was 5. She never told her parents, because she was always too scared they would be angry at her. Doesn't make sense, I know, but it was toddler logic. The babysitter would put her older sister to bed, then sneak into my friend's room and rape her. The only reason it stopped was because another baby was born, so she started sharing a room with her older sister when her old room was turned into a nursery. Her parents eventually found out during our senior year of high school, and made her go to therapy. The babysitter was already in prison for assaulting his niece. As far as mental issues go, she is surprisingly normal. Toddler logic. No, that is how most everyone feels when they are a rape victim. It's a scary thing and completely ruins the victim's sense of trust. Showed me her tits. I was 12, and what should have been awesome wasn't, because I'm as gay as springtime. That's about as gay as it gets. Not actually looked after me. I fell backwards in a high chair, busted my head, and she thought I was dead, and so called my mom to tell her, as opposed to an ambulance. She was drunk. Dude. I think you were molested. Got. I was lucky. My babysitter introduced me to Metroid Prime and let me stay up until 11, a big deal at the time, and watch Cartoon Network. I had a female babysitter threaten to pee on me if I didn't listen. I wasn't sure if I should have listened or not. My brother babysat me once. He handcuffed me to a metal pole in the basement. I hope he at least brought you sandwiches. My mom likes to tell this story a lot, and it isn't a weird thing my babysitter did, but apparently she fell asleep while watching TV. My parents called, and I answered the phone, telling them to be quiet, because the babysitter was sleeping. Needless to say, my mom was. Edition. One of our babysitters used to watch my 2 sisters, my 2 god sisters and me. We were a wild bunch, so when she'd play with us, and we'd go crazy, she'd say in her Filipino accent "Itador," and we'd all start trying to bite and chew on the front door. Good times. Genuine story. 30-ish years ago my father was in British Merchant Navy and my mother would sometimes come along, working the bar, kitchen, whatever. At the time I was just a baby, and they had the chance for some shore leave together, but needed a sitter. The first mate volunteered to take the duty, and he was a Scottish lad with a strong desire for a drink just about every night, playing to stereotypes but it's true. But he took his sitting duties seriously, and didn't touch a drop whilst looking after little me. Upon my parents' return they found him looking after me safe and sound. Being bottle fed, just a small touch of whiskey to help me get to sleep. I don't think my parents were even angry, just amused. But my dad has some great stories from when he was in the Navy, as I suppose every sailor does, and this one is quite sedate in comparison. These two sisters that used to watch me and my siblings would put Tabasco sauce on our lips and tongues when we were bad. They would also force us to take naps by putting us in our bedrooms, locking the door, and turning off the lights. I was 5 and my parents never made us take naps at that age. For some reason, I only ever complained about the nap thing, not the Tabasco thing. If I saw them on the street, I called them the girls who make us take naps. WTF, I should have told my parents about the hot pepper sauce torture. Luckily they were backup sitters, who only came to the house a handful of times. Our other sitters were like family, they were really lovely girls. My mother used to put hot English mustard on my tongue whenever I used bad words as a kid. I had to either stop swearing, or learn to love hot. Now, as an adult, I can't get food that is hot and spicy enough to satisfy me. Okay, this thread is ed up. People are ed up, not this thread. Molestation. My old daycare lady's daughter made me make out with her once. She just randomly woke me up from a nap early, and when I went to go play, she pinned me against a wall and tried cramming her tongue into my mouth. I resisted as much as I could, but it was inevitable. Oh, and did I mention that I'm a chick? That same girl also choked me because I was invited into their fort by my sister, but she didn't want me in there, so she pinned me to the ground and held my throat. SB whack. When I was around 8, I had a babysitter who thought it was amusing to light matches directly in front of my face. I ended up developing pretty severe pyrophobia. My 16-year-old babysitter, a girl, explained to me what masturbation was. She had me look it up in the dictionary too. Kind of weird b/c I was like 11 years old. Unless she asked to watch you do it, I don't see how this is bad. You should send her a thank you card. When I was 6 years old I had a babysitter named Latoya. All night she made fun of my favorite Babiddle, calling her big head. When it was time to go to bed my brother and I took a bath, and while I was brushing my teeth she lifted me up by my ankles, held me head first and upside down in the toilet, and gave me a swirly. I told my parents what happened, and needless to say she was not asked back. One of my old babysitters taught me and my brother how to masturbate. I was 5, and he was 3. How special, right? I suppose it's no surprise that a couple years later my brother freaked out and tried to jam a broomstick up our new babysitter's butt. I suppose it's no surprise that a couple years later my brother freaked out and tried to jam a broomstick up our new babysitter's butt. That's kind of surprising actually. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.